Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Brandy and I am the owner of Boundless Treasures Boutique, and today we are going to be making these super easy, super cute coasters. These are perfect, ready to ship, quick projects for your store and just in time for Mother's Day. So let's jump right in and get started. I hope you guys all enjoy, and don't forget to like and subscribe. So to start, we are going to go over everything that I'm going to be using in this tutorial. So I am going to be using 10 cups of epoxy. I am using Alumilite's Clear Cast. That will be linked in the description below. It actually works beautifully with any of these molds that I've used. I even use the same in my decorative cutting board tutorial I did last week. So I was super excited to get to use it again. We are also going to be having additives to our epoxy to create some beautiful designs in our coasters. So I'm going to be adding Craft Smart's acrylic paint. I'm using white and dark yellow. I'm also going to be creating my own glitter mix. It is a 1-to-1 ratio, and I'm using from the Michaels Recollection like glitter kit. I'm using the color Tangerine, which I will make sure that I link for you all in the description below. I'm also using Walmart's Iridescent. It's one of my favorites for projects like this, especially when I am mixing. It just has and adds something just really, really special, and it's really, really beautiful. So I also showed these like gym rock looking things. I am not going to link these. If I could go back and do this all over again, I would have skipped those altogether. I thought that they were going to add something really unique and really special, and they just didn't really show up the way that I had hoped that they would. I'm sure they would be great for other projects. So if you do want to look for them, I got them in a rhinestone kit on Amazon, so you can definitely search for those. But I'm not going to link them just because I will never share anything with you guys that I am not a fan of. Anyways, what we're going to do is, to start off, you're going to want to mix equal parts of part A or part B of your epoxy together. You're going to want to mix that rather slow, just to make sure that you're minimizing any air bubbles that you may get. I'm using a silicone stir stick. It's one of my favorites. It's reusable, and it just is like, it makes cleanup easy and it minimizes any air bubbles. So once you have that all mixed in and it's clear and you don't see any epoxy like ribboning, which you'll be able to tell because it's like this cloud or like strip that like kind of follows your stir stick as you're stirring. At that point, you are ready to divide your epoxy up and start adding your additives. So I'm using small little medicine cups, and I'm first going to start with my custom glitter mix. And we're going to make sure that that is stirred super, super good. The reason that this is important is because if you don't stir it thoroughly, you will have areas that you just have clear epoxy and no glitter, or way too much glitter. So you just want to make sure that you have a really nice mix of it all, and that your glitter is evenly distributed throughout all of your epoxy. The same is going to be true with your acrylic paints. And you're going to be able to see here with both colors, like you can see where it's settled at the bottom, and then where it gets kind of ribbony, and then once it starts to come together cohesively as one with the epoxy, you're able to see that pretty well here as we're mixing the acrylic paints. So I am going to go ahead and let this play through and play some music for you all, and then we will be back for the next step. Now we're ready for our next step, which is pouring our epoxy into our molds. So what you're going to see here is I'm just pouring it all up against the edges of the little ring for this geode coaster mold. And then I'm going to get really, really close up on the edges as well. But you want to make sure that you are distributing your epoxy in all areas that you want it to go. From there, without any rhyme or reason or probably any real thought, I am just going to start adding my epoxy with the white acrylic paint, and I'm just going to zigzaggy that all over each and every one of these 4 molds. Again, there's really no rhyme or reason to how I am doing this. I'm just making sure that I get all my paint additives in there, and I'm going to do the same with the yellow acrylic paint and the glitter as well. So I'm going to let this play through for you guys, and then we will come back when it's time for the next step. Now that we've got all of our additive mixtures in, we are going to top this off and fill up our coasters. But before we do that, I am going to stir and drag and swirl all my additives around. This will just help it create a really, really fun design. And really just kind of bring extra depth and dimension in allowing those colors to kind of meld and mush and just kind of blend with one another. So what I'll tell you is there was nothing artistic about any of this. It was just me dragging my stir stick and hoping for the very, very best, because I am definitely not the expert when it comes to doing deep pours or molds, things of this nature. But I thought this was super fun and definitely worth a try. So once I got all of my swishies and swashies and swirlies all done with these coasters. I went in and I poured my remaining clear epoxy right on top of it. And I made sure that I filled the coaster mold until it hit the very top. This ensured that one, I had a large enough coasters, and two, that I wouldn't have any major pokey bits or edges when I demolded and had some sanding to do. So it worked out really, really nicely. Now, once I finished pouring these, I did go in and pop any micro bubbles. You can do this a couple different ways. If you are choosing to use your torch, please be careful that you are not burning your epoxy and that you are not melting your mold. I would imagine that would make a huge, huge mess. So just be mindful when you do that if you prefer to use your torch. If you don't want to use your torch, you can also spritz the top of it with 91% alcohol, and it will pop all of the bubbles. So here I actually noticed that I did not have enough epoxy, so I actually went back and mixed up a little bit more and had to add it to the mold. So don't worry if you run out, you can always mix up more and add it. And it worked out just fine. Once I had all of that done, I went ahead and I let that cure for 8 to 12 hours. And then we get to move on to the next step. So until then, I'm going to go ahead and play some music for you guys. Once these were all cured, we were able to demold them. And this was our end results, friends. I totally love how they turned out. I didn't record it here, but I did go back and end up adding some gold acrylic paint to the edges of them and inside for the ones with the geode holes, and just absolutely loved how that turned out. But thank you so much for joining me again this week, and I will see you next week.